So here's a pertinent question for you. How do you trim sails properly? kind of a basic requirement really when it comes to sailing, isn't it? Now I've been sat in Lulworth Cove for the last week, 2 weeks, and it's been fantastic, highly productive. I'm concentrating on my writing career, so that's a part of this whole journey for me, this year of living on a sailboat. And that's been great fun, very productive. And I'll talk about the books in due course. Got very used to anchoring, which is good, because it's a bit of a dark art. I've got a video for that one at some stage in the future. But the purpose really, what I'm doing or waiting for, is the right wind to go across Lyme Bay. The Lyme Bay journey is going to be about 50 nautical miles. So, and I'm not into night sailing at the moment, so it's going to have to be done in daylight, which requires the right winds, strength, direction, and so on. So whilst I've been waiting, the wind was a westerly, so straight on the nose of the boat, which promised tons of zigzagging, which no doubt would have quadrupled the nautical miles I would have to travel. And then, out of the blue, it turned into a northwesterly with a reasonable amount of strength. So I thought, yay, time to celebrate. No, I kind of ran out of time. I had a couple of prior engagements. Now, with the promise of 10 knots of wind and gusts of maybe up to 17 knots, sunshine, no rain, it's kind of suggested there's going to be a really lovely sail, and it was. And besides, I was also getting fed up with wet wipe showers, and I desperately needed to do a laundry run, and Portland Marina has some amazing facilities. And my boat batteries are also running very low. Now, I'll get onto the technicalities of my boat, what it's capable of, what it's not capable of in due course. Probably a video quite soon, maybe the next one actually, we'll see. Anyway, so with a little excitement, I have to say, and a little bit of nerves, because I've been sort of anchored for a week or so, I set off. Now initially, I had thought I'd have a crack at sailing off anchor, but I lost my nerve. Now, mostly because the wind was pushing the boat back towards shore, and being a solo sailor, I wasn't entirely comfortable how quickly I could secure the anchor once it was lifted, and then get back to the helm and the engine and put it into gear and avoid grounding the keel. However, I did actually sail out of Lulworth Cove, and that was immensely satisfying. Remember, I think I've mentioned it once or 10 times maybe, I'm relatively inexperienced in sailing, so this is everything really. It is entirely new about bringing everything together. So I still find myself actually forgetting things, and part of the preparation for sailing is, of course, you go through your checklist. And what I forgot to do was actually did everything. I was really proud of myself, and then I realised halfway across Portland Bay, I forgot to check the tides, which direction they were going. Now, Portland Bay is not crucial. It's quite a protected bay. Tides aren't huge. They don't vary that much, less than a metre, so comparable to the Mediterranean actually. And it also the movement or speed of the tide is exceedingly low. Nothing like something like they say the Alderney race, which is infamous and notorious because that can go up to 12 knots. But one of the key factors was that I was entering a marina, so I had to think about fenders and lines. Now my confidence is such that I prepared everything before I set sail from Lulworth. I got the fenders out, secured them to the railings, and then secured them on deck, because you just look like an idiot with the fenders in the middle of the ocean. So I did that, set the lines up, and not knowing really where I was going to be port to or starboard to, so I prepared for both, particularly the midship, and then I set off. Now, during the sail, I dodged the dreaded lobster pots, which is quite normal in this area along the coast. Enjoyed the open sea with a few boats around, although this one was an amazing boat to look at. It's such a beautiful thing. Now, most of the time I was sailing close haul and maintained a bearing for Portland Harbour, but in the last third I had to tack a few times. So again, it's good practice. Now, tacking aside, the biggest mystery to me is sail trimming, with words such as outhaul, luff tension, optimal halyard tension, jib cars, and so on. Now, I do get the principles, about clean flow of air between the sails, so it actually works with each other and it pulls the boat along, minimising turbulence and so on and so forth. But actually mastering the art of trim sails is still a little way to go for that one. To me, the mainsail just looked fat and ugly, and I could not get the telltale signs sorted at all. But practice makes perfect. Now, I'm learning and teaching myself the bass guitar, And I know that every time I play it, I get that little fraction a bit better. I'll spare you the actual sound of the music I'm trying to play. Now, approaching Portland, I need to use the VHF radio twice. And the harbour is a huge complex built by British Admiralty in the 1800s. When it was first built, it was the largest man-made harbour in the world at 1,300 acres. It remained a Royal Naval base until about 1995 when they moved out. Although the Royal Navy Fleet auxiliary ships still visit, and that's the one you can see here. It's also the founding home of the torpedo weapon. It is also sailing base of the 2012 Olympics and Paralympics. It's the base for the RYA Sailing Academy, and the RYA in the UK is one of the key authorities on sailing. Training authorities, they license your VHF radio and so on. And this harbour is also for cruise ships and also cargo vessels. And also, just as a little side fact, is that Portland stone, which comes from the Big Rock, also built Palace of Westminster, Tower of London and parts of Buck House. And one other thing, Portland Marina itself has this fabulous resident coffee shop called The Kitchen. Its internet is amazingly fast, so fast in fact that I could download some of my Apple TV programs so I can watch them sort of remotely offshore. Although I should be concentrating on trimming, natural. Now, there are three entrances to Portland Harbour. The south is blocked by the remains of HMS Hood, which is an 1890 built dreadnought battleship. Huge big thing. She was scuttled just before the start of World War I to block the harbour. So consequently, South Gate is out of bounds. So it's only the east and the north gates that are available, which is mostly for commercial traffic, but also open to private boats. Now, I would have loved to have shown you my docking, but the GoPro battery died. And you'll have to take it from me, it was amazing, but most because I didn't hit anything. Now, what have I actually learned from trimming the sails? Well, I trimmed them enough so I could actually sail in the right direction I wanted to go, so that's a real positive. And I could get the tailtails on the foresail moving perfectly, so they were in unison. But the mainsail was a right bugger. So any tips will be welcome. I'll see you soon.